My name is Jennifer. I am 54 years old, and I'm standing on the Great Wall of China. Yes, the actual Great Wall, the one you can supposedly see from space. Can you believe it? Because honestly, I'm still pinching myself. The tour guide just told us this section of the wall is over 600 years old. 600 years. When this was built, my ancestors were probably farming potatoes in Ireland. And here I am, Jennifer O'Brien from Boston, Massachusetts, walking on one of the wonders of the world. But this isn't just about the Great Wall. This is about how a middle-aged schoolteacher who was afraid of her own shadow ended up in China, by herself, speaking no Mandarin, with nothing but determination and a really good translation app. You see, I never thought of myself as adventurous. For 25 years, I taught 4th grade at the same elementary school in Boston. Same classroom, same routine, same predictable life. I liked predictable. Predictable was safe. My biggest adventure was trying a new restaurant downtown. Even then, I'd read all the reviews first, check the menu online, and usually end up ordering the safest thing anyway. But last year, something happened that changed everything. Our school got a new student, a little girl named Lin Wei from Beijing. She spoke almost no English, and I spoke no Chinese. But somehow, we connected. Lin Wei was brilliant, even without sharing a language. I could see her mind working. She'd solve math problems in ways I'd never seen before. She'd draw these beautiful pictures during art time, but she looked so lost, so far from home. I started staying after school to help her with English. We'd sit together, pointing at pictures in books, practicing simple words. She taught me to count to 10 in Mandarin. I taught her American playground games. One day, she brought me a photo of her grandparents back in China. They were standing in front of this incredible temple with golden roofs and red pillars. Lin Wei's eyes lit up as she told me about it in broken English mixed with Chinese. "Very beautiful," she said. You would like." I looked at that photo for a long time. "Maybe someday I'll visit China," I said, more to myself than to her. Lin Wei's face broke into the biggest smile. "Yes, you come China, I show you everything." That night, I couldn't stop thinking about her excitement. When was the last time someone had been that excited about something I might do? When was the last time I had been excited about anything I started researching China online? Not seriously, just curious. I looked at pictures of the Great Wall, the Forbidden City, those famous mountains that look like they're from a fantasy movie. Everything looked so different, so far from anything I knew. My sister Kate called that weekend. "How's work?" she asked. "Fine," I said. "Same as always." Then, almost without thinking, I added, "I'm thinking about visiting China." There was silence. Then Kate laughed. "Jenny, you get nervous ordering takeout from new places. China." She wasn't wrong. I was the person who researched restaurants for hours before trying them, the person who took the same route to work every day for 15 years, the person who had never even been on a plane by herself. But something about Lin Wei's excitement had planted a seed, a tiny seed that said, what if, over the next few months, Lin Wei and I continued our after-school sessions. Her English improved dramatically. My Chinese, well, I learned to say hello, thank you, and where is the bathroom? Lin Wei found this hilarious. She started bringing me more photos from home. Her parents in Tiananmen Square, her cousin at the Summer Palace, street food that looked both delicious and terrifying. With each photo, she'd say, "When you come China, we go here. Not if, when." Her confidence in me was infectious. Slowly, I started saying when, too. Spring break was coming up in April. I had 2 weeks off. Usually, I'd spend them grading papers and reorganizing my classroom. But this year, I found myself looking at flights to Beijing. The prices made me dizzy. A round-trip ticket was almost $3,000, but I had been teaching for 25 years. I had savings. When was I going to use them? When I was 70, 80, I made an appointment with a travel agent. Patricia was her name, the same one who had helped my neighbor plan his trip to Italy the year before. China is an amazing choice, Patricia said. First time to Asia. I nodded. First time anywhere by myself, actually. Patricia didn't seem fazed. China can be overwhelming, but it's also incredible. Beijing has so much history. The Great Wall, the Forbidden City, the Temple of Heaven. How long are you thinking? 2 weeks, I said. My student Lin Wei is from Beijing. She says her family would love to meet me. Patricia's eyes lit up. Oh, that changes everything. Having local connections makes such a difference. Let's plan something special. Over the next hour, Patricia helped me plan the trip of a lifetime. 2 weeks in China, Beijing. She on to see the Terracotta Warriors and Shanghai. Hotels, flights, even some guided tours for the days when I'd be on my own. You're going to love it, Patricia said as she handed me my itinerary. China is like nowhere else on earth. That night, I called Lin Wei's parents. Her mother, Mrs. Zhang, spoke decent English. When I told her about my trip, she actually squealed with excitement. Lin Wei will be so happy, she said. We show you real China, not just tourist places, real Chinese life. The weeks leading up to my departure were a whirlwind. I applied for my visa, got all my vaccinations, downloaded every translation app I could find. I practiced using chopsticks until I could eat an entire meal without dropping anything. My colleagues at school thought I had lost my mind. Jenny, you're going where China by yourself. But you don't speak Chinese. What if you get lost? The questions I was asking myself every day. But Lin Wei kept me motivated. Every day after school, she'd teach me new phrases. Ni hao for hello, Zishi for thank you, Woshi mei guo ren for I am American. She wrote everything down in my notebook with both Chinese characters and pronunciation guides. You will be fine, she'd say with the confidence only a 9-year-old can have. Chinese people very nice. They help you. The night before my flight, I barely slept. I packed and repacked my suitcase 3 times. I had my passport, my visa, my phone with 12 different translation apps, and a folder full of addresses written in both English and Chinese. At the airport, everything felt surreal. I was actually doing this. Jennifer O'Brien, the woman who had eaten lunch at the same deli every day for 10 years, was flying to China. The flight was long. 14 hours from Boston to Beijing with a layover in Chicago. I sat next to a businessman who had been to China dozens of times. First trip, he asked. When I nodded, he smiled. You're in for a treat. China will change how you see the world. I hoped he was right. Landing in Beijing was like stepping into a different universe. The airport was massive, ultra-modern, with signs in Chinese and English. Everything moved so fast, but somehow it all worked perfectly. Getting through customs was surprisingly smooth. The officer looked at my visa, stamped my passport, and said, "Welcome to China" in perfect English. I wanted to frame that passport page. Mrs. Zhang was waiting for me outside customs with a big sign that said, "Jennifer Teacher." She hugged me like we were old friends. "Welcome to Beijing," she said. "Lin Wei, so excited you here." The drive from the airport to my hotel was mind-blowing. Beijing is huge, bigger than anything I had ever imagined. Skyscrapers, ancient temples, modern shopping centers, and traditional hutongs all mixed together. It was chaos and harmony at the same time. My hotel was near Tiananmen Square. That first night, I was too excited and jet-lagged to sleep, so I walked around the neighborhood. Even at 10 p.m., the streets were alive. People eating dinner at sidewalk restaurants, families walking together, elderly people doing Tai Chi in small parks. Nobody stared at me for being foreign. Nobody seemed to care that I was clearly a tourist. I felt invisible in the best possible way. The next morning, I met Mrs. Zhang and Lin Wei for breakfast. Lin Wei threw her arms around me like I was her favorite aunt. "Jennifer, teacher, you really come." We ate traditional Chinese breakfast congee, steamed buns, pickled vegetables. It was nothing like cereal and toast, but it was delicious. Lin Wei translated everything, so proud to be my guide. "Today we go Forbidden City," Mrs. Zhang announced. "Then Great Wall tomorrow. Lin Wei, take day off school to be your tour guide." The Forbidden City was overwhelming in the best way. Massive courtyards, intricate architecture, centuries of history. Lin Wei held my hand as we walked through the halls where emperors once lived. She told me stories she had learned in school, mixing Chinese and English in the most charming way. "This where emperors sleep," she'd say. Very fancy, yes. But it was the Great Wall that really got to me. We took a bus to the Mutianyu section, about an hour outside Beijing. When I first saw it snaking across the mountains, I actually gasped. "It's real," I whispered. Lin Wei giggled. "Of course real. You think we make fake wall." Walking on the Great Wall was surreal. Each stone had been placed by human hands centuries ago. I thought about all the workers, all the history, all the stories these walls could tell. Lin Wei ran ahead, calling back to me in Chinese and English. "Jennifer, teacher, come see very beautiful view, standing on that wall, looking out at the mountains of China." I felt something I had never felt before. I felt big, not because I was important, but because I was part of something bigger than myself. Over the next 2 weeks, the Zhang family showed me their china. We ate hot pot where you cook your own food in boiling broth. We visited temples where people burned incense and made wishes. We walked through hutongs, the traditional narrow streets of old Beijing. In Xi'an, I stood face to face with the Terracotta Warriors, thousands of clay soldiers, each one unique, buried for over 2,000 years. The guide explained how they were discovered by farmers digging a well. I thought about those farmers, just doing their daily work, and stumbling upon one of the greatest archaeological finds in history. In Shanghai, I experienced modern China, skyscrapers that seemed to touch the clouds, shopping centers bigger than entire city blocks, technology I had never seen before. But even in this ultra-modern city, I found quiet moments. Elderly people practicing calligraphy in parks with water brushes. Families sharing meals at hole-in-the-wall restaurants. The food was an adventure every day. I tried things I couldn't identify and didn't care. Dumplings, noodles, vegetables prepared in ways I'd never imagined. I used chopsticks like a pro. Well, mostly. But the best part wasn't the famous sights or the amazing food. It was the people. Despite the language barrier, despite the cultural differences, people were kind. They helped when I was lost. They smiled when I tried to speak Chinese. They included me in their daily lives. One evening in Beijing, Mrs. Zhang took me to her mother's apartment for dinner. 3 generations of women, cooking together, laughing together. Lin Wei's grandmother spoke no English, and I spoke very little Chinese, but somehow we communicated through smiles and gestures. She showed me photos of her youth, of Beijing when it was a very different city. I showed her photos of Boston, of my classroom, of my quiet American life. We found connections across languages, across cultures, across generations. On my last day, Lin Wei and her family took me to the Temple of Heaven. We watched people doing morning exercises, playing traditional instruments, practicing Tai Chi. Lin Wei taught me a simple Tai Chi movement. This for balance, she said. Body balance, heart balance. Standing there in that ancient park, moving slowly with dozens of Chinese people I couldn't talk to but somehow understood, I felt more balanced than I had in years. At the airport, saying goodbye was harder than I expected. Lin Wei cried. Her mother cried. I definitely cried. You come back? Mrs. Zhang said, China is your second home now. Thank you, I said in Chinese. Zishi. Lin Wei beamed with pride. The flight home felt different. I wasn't the same woman who had left Boston 2 weeks earlier. I had stories now, adventures, a broader understanding of the world and my place in it. When I got back to school, everyone wanted to hear about my trip. I showed hundreds of photos, shared stories, taught my students some basic Chinese phrases. But more than that, something had changed in how I saw myself. I wasn't just Miss O'Brien, the careful teacher, anymore. I was Jennifer, the woman who went to China by herself, the woman who ate street food and climbed the Great Wall and made friends across language barriers. Lin Wei hugged me extra tight that first day back. How was China? She asked with a knowing smile. Amazing, I said. Just like you promised. Now, a year later, I'm planning my next adventure. Japan, maybe, or Thailand. The world feels smaller now, less scary, more possible. My sister Kate called last week. So, what's your next crazy trip? She asked. But she wasn't teasing anymore. She was genuinely curious. I'm thinking about Southeast Asia, I said. Can I come? She asked. That surprised me. Really? I said. You make it look so easy, she said. Maybe it's time for me to try something scary too. People ask me all the time. Wasn't it overwhelming being in such a different culture? Yes, it was overwhelming. But you know what's more overwhelming? Living your whole life in the same small box, never knowing what else is possible. I'm 55 years old now. I went to China by myself. I walked on the Great Wall, stood among the Terracotta Warriors, and made friends I'll keep forever. I learned that kindness translates into any language and that courage grows stronger with each step you take outside your comfort zone. Most importantly, I learned that the world is full of Lin Weiss, people excited to share their culture, their stories, their lives with anyone curious enough to listen. If you're listening to this and thinking about your own impossible dream, here's what I want you to know. The scary thing you're avoiding might be the exact thing you need to do. Start with one conversation, one connection, one step towards something that scares you. I went to China because a 9-year-old girl believed I could. Who believes in you? More importantly, when will you start believing in yourself? The Great Wall was built one stone at a time. Your adventure starts with one step. Where will you take yours? What an incredible journey Jennifer had in China. Her story shows us that sometimes the most meaningful adventures begin with the smallest connections, like helping a student in your classroom. If Jennifer's story inspired you to step out of your comfort zone, please hit that like button and subscribe to English Stories with Alex. We share these amazing real-life adventures to remind you that it's never too late to surprise yourself with what you're capable of. Don't forget to ring that notification bell so you never miss a new inspiring story. And share this video with someone who needs a reminder that the scariest step is often the first one, but it's also the most rewarding. Have you ever had a small connection that led to a big adventure? Tell us about it in the comments below. Until next time, keep exploring, keep connecting, and keep believing in the power of stepping outside your comfort zone.